Today, we'll be going through everything you need to know about hosting a goddamn show. I'm Matthew Stewart, and I've got a few lovely guests joining me here tonight, and as always, they're Muppets. So, let's talk about this masterclass that will be going on today, shall we? And first, we got to talk about the price for entry. It's whatever the fuck you want it to be is, because all the money, all the donations, all the subs will be going to charity for this month, and this month we are sending our donations to the Samaritans of Singapore as they dedicate to providing a confidential emotional support to individuals facing a crisis and thinking about or affected by suicide. Head over to their website, sos.org.sg, to learn more about SOS, as well as their virtual walkathon campaign that is currently going on. Without further muppetry, let us introduce our guests. First up, he is a prominent international TV host, actor, and filmmaker based in Singapore and Bangkok, as well as Thailand. The Texan of mixed Burmese heritage has been displaying his talents in front of and behind the camera for over a decade across Asia. He's also your host for Asia's Got Talent. All of this I got from Google, so it's probably not true. How are you doing today, Justin?
Doing great. Bangkok and Thailand, huh?
Apparently. Well, I don't know. You've got to fill me in on all this.
I think they're the kind of the same place.
Oh, same place. That's right. See, the internet's always wrong half the time. Well, our next guest combines the two things that I love the most, which is tech and food. She also covers a lot of lifestyle and fitness content, but we don't talk about that because I'm absolutely a fat fuck. But Victoria Tang has talked to many legends across Southeast Asia and is here to learn her industry experience. And I heard you started a Twitch channel recently. Victoria, how's that going for you?
It's going well. I'm trying to shout out to myself on your page, and it's not working. But things are good. My setup is definitely not as nice as yours.
Your setup's fantastic. I saw that you were working with Secret Lab, is that right? Not Secret Lab, Aftershock to get your computer setup done.
Yes, and Omnidesk and Razer. Shout out. This is not sponsored today, but yes, I'm using an Aftershock PC.
Yeah, it looks fantastic.
They're the best.
I mean, my setup.
I may or may not being paid to say it. No, just kidding. They are awesome. It's an awesome rig. I love my rig.
My setup is a janky home computer setup, whereas Justin's setup, I don't know what's going on back there anymore. He's just stroking a dinosaur while he talks, which is a little bit weird.
Quarantined for a while.
My setup is
still in quarantine.
SHN style. That's how we're rolling.
Well, last and definitely the least, we have Adam. He does stuff and sells nuggets for $5 or something. Hi, Adam. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for. I still don't know why I'm here today.
Oh,
yeah, why are we here?
Well, that's exactly what we can get into. As Victoria said to, I believe, Adam right before the show, what the fuck are we doing? So, today we'll be talking about everything about hosting. So, Shoutcasting for Muppets. This is actually more of an explanation to you guys than it is to the audience at this stage. But Shoutcasting for Muppets is a show we put together to teach everybody about the craft of shoutcasting, which is the gaming world's version of esports commentary. I decided to grab you guys today for the art of hosting a show, because you guys have done a lot of hosting work in the past. So, we're going to dive into quite a few topics about hosting here today, and it's an open discussion. Talk about whatever you want, have a drink if you like, and just have a lot of fun with it. So what we're going to talk about today, and first up, is going to be about your experience as a host. And I think the best person to kind of go to first here is obviously going to be Mr. Bratton, because Google says that he does this thing called Asia's Got Talent. Is that like an indie TV show that's going on or something?
Yeah, it's pretty lowbrow, low budget stuff. It's filmed on phones. We light ourselves with RGB wands. It's good stuff. It's great.
What's your experience been like working for Asia's Got Talent so far? Is hosting something that was new to you, or you've done it in the past? Like, how's that been?
I mean, I had hosted several shows before I did Asia's Got Talent, but Asia's Got Talent was the first kind of competition show in front of an audience that large, and the first time I did first time I did a show that was internationally broadcasted live. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. Good show. Good times. Really well-run production.
And what about yourself, Victoria? Like, what sort of hosting work have you done in the past? Because I've seen you all over the place. Like we talked about earlier, you've done lifestyle content, fitness content. You've done your food blogging before as well. Now you're delving into the tech world as well. What are your experiences like with hosting in the past?
Actually, my longest hosting gig was with Justin at the end of last year, funnily enough, where I had to spend 2 weeks with this man. Actually, 1 week, 10 days before he had the hair.
That's 10 days too many, to be honest.
In your home country. So we were in Australia, but a lot of it is usually travel related. Definitely not like any recurring shows like Justin's, it's usually been stuff for like Channel Asia, where there's like a couple episodes on a particular country. So it's very travel based. And then we kind of go through like food, sports, adventure related topics. Otherwise, it'd be live gigs, so live events. I do a lot more of that these days. But I think I'm a relatively new host compared to these two. I've only started hosting maybe about 5 years ago. So
you say that, and Adam just seems very confused by saying.
Yeah, I don't know. What is Adam? Like, why is Adam here?
Well,
I know. Why am I here?
The way that I actually met Adam is he interviewed me, and in the gaming world, the host often doubles up as an interviewer.
God,
but you know,
so long ago,
we did just need a fourth person to be on the show, and you know, he does all these really cool like voiceover jobs for McDonald's. He sells $5 nuggets to me all the time. But you have $5. You have done hosting work in the past, Adam, and you have done quite a few interviews before.
that was like over a decade ago. Because with my journalistic background, I interviewed some bands when they were here. Like this is like over 10 years ago, and I hosted some gaming stuff for Arena, RGN TV. This is like, again, you were still underage when I met you.
I was 16.
Wow. We're having a...
What else
I
happened?
don't know. Yeah. Do I make Dkosh jokes or no?
Oh no!
I don't know.
Adam, we hosted together. We hosted a vignette for the Singapore Myanmar Film Festival together that never made it anywhere because it was shot so horribly by whoever that lovely gentleman was that was shooting it. Nice guy, worst DP ever.
This is why Adam has expanded his skills into videography, probably because he's sick of this. Yeah.
Was that the push? That was the nudge?
Yeah, that also was.
Oh man.
I'm more comfortable behind the camera than like screaming at people like these two, like these beautiful looking people. I just scream at them.
Adam, don't undersell yourself. You are also a beautiful, beautiful brown man.
And you have the man bun.
Yeah, you should be in front of camera more often.
Oh, that is a good segue for us because you're talking about bad experience filming the show together, Justin and Tuna here, or Adam, sorry. So one of the first things I really want to talk about is best practices when it comes to hosting. A lot of new hosts and new interviewers tend to fail just when they don't quite understand what the best practices around either hosting a show or what good interviewing work looks like. So do any of you guys have something that comes to mind when it comes to best practices around interviewing somebody or hosting a show?
Oh my God, I just had the worst moderator the other day. At the very least, do your research. Do your research on your interview subjects so you don't ask stupid questions that can be easily Googled. Like if you go in and you ask Justin, like, what have you hosted? Like, just not knowing basic stuff. Do your research before you go in. Don't be an idiotic host just following a script. Don't just follow the notes that the organizer has given you. Do your research because you'll have a better interview if you kind of know the subject that you're talking about.
I mean, a lot of it, just as far as hosting in general, I mean, obviously you can get better at it the more you do it, but the odds are that if you start off bad at it, you're not going to get the opportunities to get that good at it. So you run into a situation there where you're kind of going to have to just film your own stuff to get good at it, but that's not going to be the same as doing it in front of people. So really, if you don't start out with a certain amount of inherent ability, you might be screwed. To be honest.
True.
So, and there's a chance that because of the subject matter of this stream, the majority of the people watching this might not have that ability. They're curious about hosting. So a good percentage of them just might be screwed regardless. I'm not saying that means your dreams are dead.
Yeah, you're the anti-American dream.
Dream crusher right now.
He is.
He's
representing America right now.
I'm not trying to be an asshole, but I am saying there is a certain... A lot of people try and do this kind of stuff, and they're just always going to be bad, no matter how much they try. It's I mean, some people, you're never going to be fast. You're never going to be able to win a foot race, So recognize where you are, what your potential level is, and if you got it, okay, start fine tuning those skills and get better.
Is this why you started doing McDonald's ads, Adam?
I see it so much. I only bring this up because I see it so much, and I think to myself, oh, they're just wasting their time. That's why I bring it up.
I mean, it
Just
is
for
fair
context, right? Just for context, Justin, here's a little backstory for Asia's Got Talent. For the final season, this last season, I was there doing behind-the-scenes videography and like photography for Justin and Alan. And the thing is, Justin, apparently he was like born with it, right? Right before they go on stage, like 5 minutes before, they're sitting there in the back, getting ready, warming up. And this is Alan warming up. It's like, do the vocal warm-ups, and do all the tongue twisters and all that stuff. Really dead serious, looking into the camera. Justin was in the freaking toilet. And hear a flash like in a comedy movie. He walks out, and he just had like, we all looked at him like, hey, aren't you going to warm up? And this is what he did. He just like, la, 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 la. Done. Let's go. And that was it.
I think
So
Justin is one of those.
beer as well.
But
Yeah.
I think Alan is too. I think Alan's one of those type of people as well. He doesn't normally warm up like that before he does hosting events. That right there is that was the finals.
Was that the nerves?
Live audience, lots of people in the live audience. Live television in 30 countries. So I think that's not really him warming up. It's more of him just mentally able to focus when he goes out there because there's some nerves right before you do a show that big. I don't think it has anything to do with him not having a natural ability.
No, what I'm saying, like, what I'm trying to point out is like Justin is like he was born with it. He has no
Doesn't
fear.
care.
Yeah,
He
some
does
people
not
are more
care.
natural than others. Because I don't think I'm not. I don't know. I wouldn't say I'm a natural host. It took a lot of practice to get to the point I am now. I never thought I would be a host. I never, as a kid, I was never like, I'm going to become a host one day. So I think there's a point. If you have a natural talent, you will definitely get further, and you'll get more opportunities.
You have that personality where there's you have an inherent personality where you can focus on the different things that you need to and get good at it. I'm saying I see people that try and do that, and it's just never going to happen. Granted, there's a lot of successful YouTubers out there that would be horrible TV hosts, and they're horrible on camera. They gain a lot of followers on YouTube, and they're great YouTubers. So by no means am I saying that because you're not good at TV hosting or you're not good at shoutcasting or whatever the hell Fish does or that kind of stuff. Just because you're not good at those types of aspects of entertainment doesn't mean that you can't be on camera.
Right, and
Okay.
one of
That's
the
fair.
things.
That's fair.
Those two things are separate, I think.
One of the
Okay.
things we talked about last week on the show is that, talent versus hard work and talent. Like, how much of both do you need to be successful in a position? One of the stories I share, which none of you are going to understand what I'm about to say, but I was originally a color commentator for Esports, which is meant to be the analyst/smart guy, the one that provides all the analytical analysis of the show. I sucked at that. No matter how much I tried working at that, I was really bad. But transitioned into play-by-play commentary and found that I did pretty well at that instead. So there is a fair point towards the aspect of talent, hard work. Like, you can put in a lot of work into something, but if you didn't have that basic level of talent to start, it might not be enough. I am of the opinion that you can work hard at something and go from I really suck to really successful with a large amount of hard work being put into it. And I think that it's not necessarily that they didn't have the talent to begin with, but the practice and hard work being focused into a specific area might not have been something that is conductive or intuitive to actually developing their craft and the actual area of expertise they're trying to get into. But what do you think the barrier to entry then does look like, Justin? If you say you would need that little bit of talent to start becoming and looking towards being a host, what is the basics you would need to have down pat before you put in that effort?
I think the barrier of entry is dependent upon the kind of hosting you're doing. Because now that I'm thinking about it, as I mentioned, if you're going to consider these people that are doing like just their YouTube channels, and maybe they're not necessarily super comfortable on camera, but there's an awkwardness to them or something about them that people are finding attractive anyway. And the barrier is quite low, right? You're finding something. There's something about you or your personality that maybe has nothing to do with necessarily you being good at talking on camera, and that's still enough where people want to follow you, whether that's because of your style or your content. If you're still getting that followership, then you should still be creating that content, right? So in that regard, the bar can be quite low. Now, if you're talking about going on stage in front of live television in front of 500 people, the bar can be quite high.
What kind of hosting are we talking about? Is it like on camera itself, or is it like events or in front of people? It's like maybe you can help us, because again, we don't know what the fuck's going on here.
I would say even live hosting versus hosting on TV, totally different format. Like they're all different formats, and like Justin was saying, like YouTube, there are people who would be great.
Is it called hosting on YouTube if you're just talking to the camera? Isn't it more like? Is it hosting? If you're,
I guess
no, it's not. It's not really, is it?
It's not more hosting, is it?
It's YouTubing, or
monologues?
I don't know. Old person shouldn't be trying to figure out what these things are called.
Well, it could be for all aspects of hosting, right? You've got your live hosting jobs, which Justin does a lot on Asia's Got Talent. You've got tape to air, where you have time to actually rehearse, talk about things. You see that quite commonly on, say, Channel News Asia. When they're doing a street interview with someone, they would sit down, go through all the questions, go through the topic, actually rehearse with the person. It's where you can play with things like editing, video footage, stuff like that. And that's more for interview-based work. So there's a wide variety. I kind of agree along the lines of what Justin's trying to say. Even if a particular aspect of hosting, say someone is just not fit for being the host of Asia's Got Talent, they might be fit for doing serious documentaries, or might be fit for doing serious news reporting. It doesn't mean that one aspect doesn't translate. It doesn't mean that having a lack of talent in a certain area doesn't translate to talent in another area, which does bring up the next thing I kind of wanted to go through. How much of it comes into play when you're doing a hosting job or interviewing someone? How much of your personality and your brand as a person comes into play when you're doing a respective job?
Vic?
I mean, I think, again, it depends on what you're doing. I think in general, at least for me, it depends on your style and what you're trying to do. For me, a great deal, to the point to where in some stuff, I even become a characterization of myself because I lay it on quite thick.
Oh yeah,
but yeah, because you want to be one of the underlining things, right? In hosting, I think, is being comfortable in your own skin. So your personality should come out, because that's going to be the easiest for you to be comfortable in.
Yeah, personality counts for a lot. I mean, that's what makes a good host, right? It's their personality and their own flavor, because anyone could ask questions, anyone could follow a script or whatever is set for that recording. So personality is a huge part. In fact, and then another good example is like if I'm co-hosting with Justin or Adam, or Justin and Alan, and their personalities and how they balance each other, I think it's probably the most crucial thing.
Yeah, you can't have like two high energy people, like two Justins.
You can't have two Justins. That would be the craziest, like, I don't know.
They're gonna drain the energy from the whole crew.
Try.
We'd be like, no.
I'm trying really hard to imagine Justin hosting like a CNA desk about a serious financial report. I just
wouldn't happen. They didn't even let me doing those docu-series anymore.
Well, one of the things we could talk about are questions. Like, hosts often do have to come up with questions for people they're interviewing. We could do this specifically for live interviews. I feel like if you're doing a tape to air interview, your question should never be horrible, because you have the magic of editing to actually save you and the plenty of time to do your research and adapt. It's live hosting where your questions really get tricky, because you can do all the research in the world, ask a question, and the answer is completely not what you just expected and completely derails the way you're going to take the interview from there. So you really have to adapt on the fly. So my question is, what are the stupid questions people ask? Because I've got a few that I see a lot of very new interviewers try to ask. And what do you think are good ways to adapt when an interview goes completely sideways halfway through it?
I think EQ
as far
is
as
super important. I'm just going to cut over Justin.
Go ahead.
Which is like what you should never do in an interview, by the way, is like interrupt your subject. give them a lot of room to talk. And I think this is where personality comes into play as well. It's sort of like having a conversation. And if things are getting awkward, you kind of just need to read the room and feel that conversation and make, I think in interviews in particular, a lot of it's making the subject as comfortable as possible because they aren't hosts, they aren't necessarily TV personalities, and you kind of just need to get them comfortable and draw these answers out of them. Whether say the interview is about gaming and that person's super uncomfortable, but this person just loves talking about their dog. They maybe just start warming them up on familiar subjects before you go back into the territory you're supposed to be interviewing them about. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if I can add on to that, it'd be like, don't turn into a Jimmy Fallon, because that happened to me before as well, where you just sort of like get overly enamored by the guests, or
where
like
he just starts laughing the whole
time. Like really like get it going on with their flow, and you're not controlling the flow anymore. When I started off, I was interviewing international singers when they come here and all that stuff. Even if it was not on live TV, like sit down interview kind of a thing, you're so like, oh my God, I'm going to listen to them. But then it dragged away, they diverge and go off to like different tangents. You got to pull that back in. So that would be my add on to what Vic was saying. It's good to let them warm up, but don't let them take over. And just
definitely
go on and on about their dogs and their routines. And we're like, wait, that's not what we want to know.
Interviewing can be quite hard. I think it's one of the more difficult aspects of hosting because you're not in control of everything. You're dealing with this other person that you don't know what the hell they're going to do necessarily, and they by all intentions might be there. They may not give a fuck that you're there, so they might be there to fuck up your shit. So it's about you gotta listen to what they're doing. You gotta make them exciting. If they're boring, you have to listen to them, but at the same time also stay in control. What's his name? That guy that interviewed a textbook example of like how to do an interview on live TV or on camera. The guy that interviewed Trump, Swanson. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Is this the one with all the data that he brought?
Yes, where Trump brings out the graphs. That guy Swanson was just like, it was a textbook because Trump's got to be one of the most difficult people to interview. It's the president. So you don't want to be too disrespectful, but it's hard to because of the shit that's coming out of his mouth. And on top of that, it's hard to rein in because he's all over the place when he talks. He's some guy, I saw some podcast that said the way he talks was like verbal ink blots. Verbal ink blots. That was a great way to describe how he talks.
Yeah.
This guy Swanson, who interviewed him for I can't even remember. Was it Vice?
Don't think it was Vice. It was
Sky or anyway. The interviews. Swanson. I'm pretty sure his name's Swanson or Swan. Fucking amazing. Like
Axios.
Swan.
Axios. Yeah. If anybody that wants to learn or at least witness a textbook HBO. Phenomenal interview, watch the Axios interview with Donald Trump recently. Like he kept Donald Trump on track. He was funny. His personality came out. He held Donald Trump's hand to the fire when he was saying bullshit. And he did it in a way that he wasn't intimidating to Donald Trump either. The man was brilliant. Like seriously, a phenomenal interview.
I'm so curious about this interview. I stopped watching all Trump interviews, so I'm kind of curious.
Oh, you did see it? I watched it 3 times. It's also hilarious.
Okay. I will check it out. I don't like watching Trump in interview anymore. There's nothing like helpful to me. But this sounds interesting.
Death Adder in the chat mentioned that it was for HBO as well. But yeah, I watched that full interview. It was a textbook example of how to interview somebody. It was fantastic.
Perfect. Brilliant.
Yeah, so that's a good example of a really good interview. Like in the gaming world, one of the things we see as a very common rookie mistake that's made by a new interviewer is, say, a professional esports player comes out of the game and they just won. The very first question, I would say 99% of new interviewers...
How do you feel?
Exactly. And some experienced interviewers will walk up to them and say, you just won. How do you feel about that? Which is... what? It's it's not an open-ended question where they can have their input. It's just, yeah, great, we won the game. What did you expect? So to me, that's like the question that I hate the most that rookie interviewers ask all the time. Like, do you guys have any examples of any sort of like questions or opening questions you think are just, no, don't do that if you're interviewing someone?
Opening question.
Well, so
either way.
I mean, as far as when somebody's coming off, you're interviewing somebody after they've done something. And one good thing to focus on is obviously you're watching what they've done. So you want to focus on something that they just did. As opposed to how do you feel, you can just be like, oh, man, how did you do that? Or what was it like when, boom? What was it like when the audience cheered? Or how does it feel to know that you are the first person that ever did something like that, right? So you want to, the first question should be about something that actually occurred. Now, what I was laughing was, when Asia's Got Talent, when people come off the stage, the first question we're supposed to ask is, how do you feel? And
I was going to say, yep, go ahead.
The reason that is...
We got the wrong person to the show.
The reason that is because we're supposed to do that when it is edited, when it's taped, right? So we need their feeling reaction for the cut, for when we edit it. So just in case we're pressed for time, we need that first to air on TV. So we ask that first to get it out of the way, and then we can ask our real questions, because there's just not enough time. And that's the most important thing that we need to know for the television audience.
Yeah. I was going to say it's like one of those questions you hate, but you have to ask it. It's establishing question, and people are just tuning in, like what happened, like it's establishing that they're the winner. It's just, you got to ask it almost. But I think, so I kind of get it. I kind of get like, so I understand what like Justin's saying. It's like almost, it's a necessary, like it's almost like the first thing that the audience might be thinking too is like, oh my God, like how is this person reacting to his win? So I don't know, mixed feelings about it.
All right. Fair enough. I mean, I get where Justin's coming from it as well. Like you kind of, especially from like a TV show perspective, you kind of want that reaction just for cuts or for anything else. It might not necessarily be for the interview itself as well. And that's another example where, you know, there are differences between live and scripted and all the different things you have to take into account when you're hosting a show. It's not just A or B. There's a lot of different tangents you have to work off of at the same time. One question I have that I think Vic and Adam might have a lot of input towards, but Justin, I don't know how you're going to handle this question, so I'm also excited too, is one of the things we're frequently told when we're interviewing someone or hosting a show is the focus is not meant to be on you. It's meant to be on the person you're talking to. So how do you interject yourself with your talent and your flavor and provide some spice to the interview itself without taking away from the subject itself, which is the person you're talking to? So Vic and Adam, you have anything you want to say? I'm very curious to see what Justin has to say about this later as well.
I'm obviously confused by the question. I don't understand.
Let's start with Vic. Vic, take it away.
I think this is where, just by nature of your question, like where personality comes in a bit. I think my energy level is not, as it doesn't fill the room the same way Justin does. Like Justin walks in a room, Justin's there. I think I can kind of like switch a bit in being a bit more stealth, a bit more throwing the question back at them. And I say why personality kind of matters, because I'm actually like I said, I never expected to be hosting. I started off as a writer. I was always meant to be like kind of behind the scenes. I think, again, this goes back to just making the subject more comfortable. So while you make them more comfortable, that kind of lets their personality shine more. And making sure that they're the ones who are doing most of the talking and the storytelling or whatever it is. And it's not, bringing the subject back to myself. I think one thing that I see in bad interviews is when the interviewer is making it about themselves. So everything the subject says, and bad conversations work this way too. You're asking someone for an opinion, but you're always kind of like bringing it back to yourself. Like, oh, me too. And those interviews, and I hate those kind of interviews. I mean, I hate those kind of conversations, even just with people who keep making it about themselves when I'm like, yo, I thought we were here to talk about me. So, yeah.
I mean, Adam, you completely just remove yourself away from the topic and voiceover about McDonald's anyway, so you make it all about the McDonald's. Like, what are your thoughts?
Exactly. I was like, I just don't even appear on camera, so...
Exactly, because for me, to be fair, my main thing is not about, I'm not like a host per se. It's just that I ended up doing these hosting gigs because I was, with the journalistic background as an editor or trying to run like a channel, those kind of things. I try to do this just like, okay, let's just do this. It'd be nice to make sure everybody has a good time. We get the questions done. Everybody had a good time. Be nice to them. That's it. So I don't have an issue trying to inject my personality per se into it. Yeah, I guess that's a main thing for me. I don't need to worry about it. I just make sure like, hey, everything's done decently. Everybody goes home like happy. That's what I did.
An exact opposite for you, Justin. It just says if it's about you, it's perfect.
You remember is you're the fucking host. It's your show. You gotta let them know. Let them know who's in charge, motherfuckers.
This is my show. This is Justin's show. Remember me. Yeah.
It's all me. This one.
I think this goes back to the listening thing. I mean, I think if you're doing it, and again, it depends on the show that you're hosting. So if you're doing, if I've hosted some shows before where it was, the show kind of revolved around me being kind of funny and doing silly shit. And in that scenario, when I'm interviewing people, I know that I need to instill some of that into the interview some way. Not necessarily just overshadowing this other person. You still listen to them do what you're doing, but you got to find your moments to interject. We're not fucking up their shit, but you're still staying in tune with what the show is. And then, also if you're interviewing, somebody in Seoul, Korea about their high suicide rates, on that one, you kind of tone it down. Right? It depends. It depends on what's going on.
Context.
I think some people like Justin and some other really great hosts, they also have this, and this is where a natural ability really comes into play, where they can share their energy. Their energy is like, infectious. So when they're like super high energy and they can get this other person kind of hyped up too, that's like, I think that makes a great host. Yeah.
That's why it's good to, like, if it's a sit down interview and you have the option of chatting to the person before you interview them, that's why it's a good idea to do that. So they're not blindsided by who you are and what it is you do. That way you chat with them before and you give them a little taste, just let them have a little lick. Have a little lick. Let them know what you do.
Oh my god, poor subject. He's like licking his lips.
And then you just give it to him.
There's a gaming an esports host and interviewer by the name of Efia Di Piote. Her moniker is Shocks. She is really well known for that. She has like a very similar, like bubbly energy, something similar to like what Justin does on camera, but she does have that natural ability to read the room as well, where she'll come in really excited, super happy, and there was a couple of moments where the person she was interviewing broke down because it was a very emotional moment for them, and she was just able to switch. Immediately knew, okay, this is now not the time for me to project this personality anymore, tone it back, adapt to the situation itself, which is important.
That's definitely a skill that you can get better at. For sure. I wasn't that switching happens. And I remember when I first started, I definitely remember doing a couple of interviews where something like that would occur. And I did not reciprocate well enough. I remember going back and watching the footage and be like, oh no, I did that poorly. Yeah, no, that's something that you do learn and you get better at.
Experience counts for a lot, for sure.
Well, we've kind of gone through most of the topics we're going to cover today, so the last thing I kind of want to see you, Justin. The last thing I kind of want to talk about is what advice would you have for somebody who is just getting started? They're trying to get into the groove of being a host and interviewer, and they want to learn a little bit more about what they should do next in terms of developing their craft. What advice would you have for someone out there that's looking to get started?
Don't do it.
Go back to school.
I don't know if now is a good time to be a host. Yeah.
There's not a lot of work right now.
That's why I got you on this show, right?
We got no jobs here, man.
The last minute ask us to come on stream. It's like, yeah, I'm free.
Sure.
Okay.
Why not? I'm selling your jewelry online, to be honest.
You gotta sell like gadgets online. Facebook Live.
Are you a
start
trainer?
selling them.
Good. Let's stick with that. I don't know.
I think watching footage of yourself is super helpful, though. Because I've hosted live events, in my earlier days, and there was no footage of it. I didn't really know what I looked like. I just did it. But then over time, especially with people like Adam showing up with his camera and just recording, or just being able to get a hold of footage, oh god, so much cringe like throughout my short career in this, and even still now. So I think just getting a hold of footage, just recording yourself, or somehow it's like kind of the best way to self-critique and learn from there. Because you know what makes a good host just by watching them. So watching yourself would help a lot.
Agreed. That definitely helps.
But that's just something that comes naturally for you, Justin. Watching footage of yourself.
I mean, it's what consumes it's what consumes the majority of my days. Actually, today I spent a lot of time doing that.
I mean, it's helpful though. I don't actually do it enough because I hate watching myself, because I hate like cringing and just knowing how shit I look sometimes. But practicing helps a lot, which is partially why I still keep teaching group classes. Because that, now that I'm not really doing live hosting, teaching group classes, you kind of need same sort of technique in keeping the energy up. That's why I still keep doing that. And I was talking to Justin actually, because he's like so much more experienced. I was asking him for advice on like acting, and do you think acting helps hosting? Like learning how to act, does that help hosting, or is that a completely different ballgame?
It's quite different. Like serious acting is quite different.
Okay.
I mean, there's an element of showmanship to both, I suppose, and knowing where cameras are and those kinds of things. So I guess those things are very relatable. I'm not sure there's a direct correlation.
Okay.
I guess my advice would be, I don't know. Victoria's dead on. Now's not a good time to really start leaning into this hosting thing, or really the entertainment industry in general. Like, even if you want to be an actor or a writer or a TV producer or a director, now's a bad fucking time.
Unless,
just bad, ladies and gentlemen.
Unless you're in gaming.
Unless you're in gaming, right? Okay, gaming, that's true. Gaming. Yeah, see, if you're into gaming, you're probably doing okay. Yeah. But I mean, aside from the timing aspect of it, I mean, obviously, this scenario that we're in globally isn't going to last forever. A lot of places in the world are already recovering. Fortunately, Southeast Asia seems to be one of those places. And
the United States.
Let's not. We don't. That's why I escaped. And eventually the marketing budgets and advertising budgets are going to come back, and people are going to start filming stuff, and we're going to get this stuff back in gear. And once that happens, I guess, again, try and be honest about your own abilities. What it is you're good at it. What kind of hosting that you would be good at. Try and be sincere on camera with your personality. And make sure you have good friends that can tell you whether or not you're shit and what you need to get better at. And on top of that, networking. It really is who you know. You can be fucking amazing. If you don't know the right people, not going to happen. Unless you're focusing on online, on YouTube, you can break through without really any kind of networking, I suppose. But even that, networking is not going to hurt. Networking can help a lot because you're going to get other people involved. Your YouTube channel and meet people and blah, 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 blah. Networking is important.
Yep, definitely agree with that. Networking is definitely important, especially in the esports industry. Who you know does help a lot, especially when you already know what you know. You already have the knowledge itself. Who you know is just going to propel that even further to get you your jobs, your events, and learn how to level up as well on top of that. But that's all the things we kind of wanted to cover today's show. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining me. I'm going to give you guys some time, to say your parting words and let people know where they can find you if they want to find more. So Justin, you've got it's not the same dinosaur I usually see. You usually have like two little.
They're back there.
Oh,
there they are.
The babies are there.
Do they travel around with you in a pouch?
In a pouch? I'm not a kangaroo. It's a backpack.
Like, do you never worry like they'll get crushed by something? It's not.
Oh no! I mean, they're strategically placed in the backpacks where that's not really going to happen. I mean, there's a carry-on, so I'm watching them closely.
All right, Justin. Any last things you'd like to say? You want to let people know where they can check you out as well?
Just in the event that there's people that are watching this that want to be hosts and they happen to be exceptionally talented, there's not enough work for you right now. So don't show up trying to take our jobs. Stay home.
You're never gonna make it. Just stay home.
It's too hard. It's too hard for you exceptionally talented people to make it right now. Not during these hard times. These hard times, you're not established. It's not going to happen. Design your jewelry, build your website, sell it online. Make it happen. This is how you get that income, that online income. Sell something tangible, not your personality. That's so like 2005 selling your personality on the as a commodity. So yeah, there's that. If you'd like to hear more about how you're not going to make it, you can follow me at Justin_Bratton on the Instagram.
Justin definitely does not sound scared or old at all right there. So Vic, anything you'd like to say?
This is amazing.
This is amazing. Yeah. I think you guys should definitely practice as much as possible. I'm especially like there's some people across many creative trades or actually in industry where they're trying to just put their names out there and trying to be super famous before they've really established the experience. I would say relish these moments when you're an unknown name to practice as much as possible where no one really is going to remember your mistakes. Because if you do it with a lot of eyeballs on you, people will remember that. And that's how you lose
like an asshole.
Yeah, you look like an asshole or an idiot or whatever.
It's popping up to the top of my head right now.
Yeah, lots of bad words. And Justin will tell all his manager contacts that person is an idiot. So practice before you're a known name. Do it now. Yeah, that would be my advice because I wish I had more of that as well. Being able to do that. Because they're now even like certain jobs where I'm almost intimidated to take it on. Like, oh my God, because if I fuck this up. Otherwise, preparation, don't just count on your personality. I know so many people, myself included, I've definitely done this in the past where I'm like, whatever, I'm fun enough to like do this on the fly. And then I just like blank out on the key points or whatever. So just prepare. Don't be a jackass. Just prepare. You're being paid to do it. Even if you're not being paid, be a professional. That's how you want to be remembered, especially in such a small industry in Southeast Asia for like the English speaking community.
And where can people find you, Vic?
So where they can find me on Instagram, the Instagram. Victoria Chang, which is there, or on Twitch. I started streaming, playing mostly Valorant these days, aka Chubby Ninja. So that's my Twitch. Follow me right now. That would be great because I'm old, but I'm trying to stream and play a game. So
go to Fantastic.
Why are you laughing, Adam? I just feel like
at all.
No, not at all. Just please follow me. I have a corgi that appears on my streams, and you will love her.
You don't want her to go
me.
We need
and if any of you guys ever want a game together, I'm always like down to play with Twitch viewers. So yeah.
All right, Adam, you're the last one here. You do a lot of photography work on the Instagram. So
the Instagram.
What are some parting words you'd like to say to everyone, and where can everyone find you?
I think overall, just don't be a dick. In every kind of work, like industry, whatever you work at, like don't try to be something that you're not. Be genuine. Don't be a dick. It's a team thing as well. Even if you're a solo host, if you're going to be on camera, the whole crew, be nice to the crew. Don't be a diva. Don't be a dick. And work hard at it.
Yeah, that's super important. They're like hosts.
I work behind the camera as well. I see some people are just like, oh man, he's the dick.
Yeah, yeah.
Somebody
don't be that person. You will lose jobs, by the way. Even if you are a good host, if you're an asshole, people will try to find a way not to hire you. So don't be a dick.
Sure.
And what is the Instagram, Adam?
Oh, the Instagram is
the Instagram.
Tunaunga. That's about it. That's the only thing I have.
Fantastic. I'm going to put the four of you on mute now. I control the mic, as Justin said. I am the host now. But thank you so much for joining us for today's episode. Check Justin out at Justin_Bratton on Instagram. He's got a couple of podcasts. He does this thing at red lights. I don't quite understand it, but it's fantastic. Victoria Chang is streaming right now. We're going to go raid her channel right after this episode as well. So she's going to go play some video games. It'll be fantastic. Go find Adam. He voices all of the McDonald's ads in Singapore and also does a lot of great photography work on his Instagram accounts. Thank you so much for watching the episode 2 of How to Be a Shoutcaster, Shoutcasting Muppets. Episode 2, all about the host. Thank you so much for watching. We're going to go and fuck off right now. See you guys next time.